Hello, everybody, and welcome to the special holiday edition of the Sports Generals. I am Bryan Fraley, and this is my co-host. That's me nodding to you to introduce yourself.
I know. I'm trying to be funny and play off of you.
Oh.
I would say this is more of the New Year's edition of the Sports Generals, but holiday edition's fine too. I think
New Year's is a holiday.
Close enough.
Anyway, we digress already.
Anyway, I'm Unger to the max, although my real name is Josh. But on YouTube or Facebook Live, in this case, I go by my alternate personality, which is Unger to the max.
We know you have several alternate personalities. Is that the only one you wish to plug right now, or are there any other alternate personalities you want to give a shout out?
I'm not Butters from South Park, where he has like multiple personality disorder or whatever the heck it was.
I know. I'm just teasing you. Well, I guess we got to get started. Got to talk about the Browns.
Yes.
So we usually we're not going to do One Word Wednesday. We're saving that for our other show. So in a few words, Josh, give me a quick summary of how you feel about the game against Green Bay.
First of all, Brandon Jones from Sports Life Talk just commented. He said, Butters is hilarious.
Hey, that's our guy.
Yes. Shout out to Sports Life Talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the guys from Sports Life Talk are great. They have an awesome show. Make sure you guys, after you're done streaming this, go over to their YouTube page. Check them out. Their videos are awesome. Give them a like, give them a subscribe, and also make sure you go over to the Sports Generals official YouTube page. We are not ready to stream live from that page yet. We will be starting live next week on that page.
Yes.
So yeah, go like the Sports Generals, subscribe. Make sure you turn your notifications on so that you'll be notified next time we're getting ready to go live. Make it real easy on you.
Right. And we're also going to be setting up a Sports Generals Facebook page in the future. There he is.
My apologies, fellas. Had a little
That's all right. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? This is the third member of the Sports Generals.
My name is Jason Vaughn. I'm a member of the Sports Generals. And my YouTube page is Analytics as usual. But guys, I'm ready to roll. I know we got a lot to discuss today. It's going to be a good show.
What are you watching? What are you watching in the background? What basketball game is that?
This is some highlights. TSG highlights.
Nice. Well, we were just getting started talking about the Browns game. We're just doing a quick summary of how we felt about the game against Green Bay. Josh was just about to get us started.
So I guess, again, we'll say One Word Wednesday for the So What's the Catch show at 2 o'clock, which we'll be doing live on StreamYard at 2 o'clock, as always.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't, go subscribe to the So What's the Catch YouTube channel. But I digress. Sorry, I had to throw that plug in there as well. Anyway, getting to this Browns-Packers game, I wasn't all that disappointed about it, to be honest with you. Even though it dropped us to 7-8 and put us in a position where we need other dominoes to fall in our direction to put us in the playoffs by only winning the division title, because there's no way we're getting into the wild card.
Right.
I was not disappointed. I was more frustrated with it than anything, because the Browns, I think, were getting at least 8 yards a carry for most of that game.
Ridiculous.
Against the Packers. And then in the final drive, where you're in position to go into Lambeau Field, beat the Green Bay Packers, arguably the most historic team in the NFL. Again, I said arguably because you could argue that there are some other teams that are more historic, if you will, but whatever. You take the ball out of your best player's hands and you put the ball in your most inconsistent player's hands who had already thrown 4 interceptions. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Should have been 5.
I'm a little more upset. I'm a little more upset than you are about the game, to be honest, because it's still an NFL game, and even though we weren't favored to win this game, like you got to make it close. You got to compete, especially when your entire season is on the line. There were guys on the team that performed. Nick Chubb performed. The offensive line performed. The defense made some plays when they needed to and got stops when they needed to. But once again, lackluster quarterback play, to put it lightly, lost us the game, and it's been the story of this season. It's been, we've been in position to win games on the road against good teams like this before. And we put the ball in Baker Mayfield's hands, and just week after week after week, we get the same results. And it's just like, something's got to change. Anyway, that's my feeling about the game. Jason, what's your 2 cents on it?
And then
just to piggyback off what you said, this is something we've been seeing consistently all year long, and I guess we got to call Stefanski out on this. He's the one who's calling the plays. For some specific weird reason, we're rushing 9 yards a clip. We've rushed as a team over 200 yards in total. It's the final drive. Your quarterback is struggling. Why not continue to run? Try to, let's say get about 35 yards to kick a field goal. Put yourself in position to win. It's head scratching, gentlemen. I don't understand his thought process into this. I kind of have an inkling that I think the analytics is really starting to show up in places it shouldn't be showing up at, to be honest. As we all know, the Cleveland Browns is the first franchise to be 100% analytics. And some could say DePodesta got his hands all tangled into this play scripts that they're calling. I don't know, but it's bizarre. Also, you're on the road, Lambeau, and we cannot gloss over this. The Browns physically dominated the Packers. They beat up on them on both ends of the ball. That's not even a debate. Yeah, Devontae Adams got his normal 1-2, but despite that, our offensive line and defensive line was just taking it to them. That's how we were able to rush for over 200 a clip. Over 9 yards a clip. But it's the play call. It's questionable play calling, and something's got to stop.
Yeah, I want to highlight this comment from B. Jones real quick. He said, I agree. The game plan was suspect. Suspect at best. And pardon me. But you just said it, how much did analytics play into the decision-making process at the end of that game? And at this point, it's, what's the point of having a head coach if you're not letting him make those decisions, and instead you're letting mathematicians make the decisions and what have you. And then also one more thing I wanted to show here. I think you'll appreciate this one, Jason. Baker is done in Cleveland. I think this is a good comment to highlight, because I think this is a good discussion to start having. The extension hasn't been made to Baker. Clearly, other people on the team have got theirs. So clearly, we've known for a while. We've known for a while that they're not ready to go all in on Baker.
And rightfully, and that's how they should be feeling, because you addressed this earlier, Bryan, where Baker has been in positions multiple times this season, in the final 2 minutes, whether it was week 1 against the against the Chiefs, week 5 against the Chargers, week 8 against the Steelers. I would even argue week 12 in that Sunday night game against the Ravens. And I'm sure there are a couple other games that I'm missing, but I'm highlighting those games specifically because it's like, okay, Baker, do you want to earn your money? Do you want to show us why you were the number 1 overall pick? You're in the the 2-minute drill, go out, prove why you were the number one pick, lead the team on a game-winning drive. And has he done that in any of those games? Survey says not once. He is at least 0-4. And maybe I'm missing a game. So help me out if I'm missing a game.
You sound about right.
Sounds right to me.
But overall, my point is, like, Josh Allen probably, most likely, I'm not saying gonna guarantee anything, but most likely Josh Allen would have been able to lead the Browns on a game-winning drive in that position. Maybe Lamar Jackson does. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, some of these other young quarterbacks.
Yeah. It's crazy.
We haven't seen it. We haven't seen it from Baker, and he's had opportunity after opportunity to do so. So yeah, in terms of the comment, I think Baker is done in Cleveland. I don't think that there's anything at this point he can do to save that. I mean, let's even throw a hypothetical out there, boys. Let's say that the chips fall how we need them to, and we win the next two games. Baltimore and Cincy lose their games this week. And we squeeze into the playoff as AFC North champion. Even if we do that, how much do we need to see from Baker for him to get back in our good graces? Is there anything he can do to get there, to be that guy?
No, I think, you know what? I think we have over 50 games worth of tape and data on this guy. I think the decision has already been made. The tape already has spoken. At this stage, I could see him being a backup. I would be okay with him staying here as a backup quarterback. But as far as being a leader of a franchise, a generational talent, no, that's absolutely out the window. But we have enough film in fact, I believe his overall record as a quarterback, 27-26. Right, something along
right around 500.
Yeah, 500 is he's subpar, marginal, and he does just enough because he's limited from a physical standpoint.
Especially with the injuries and whatnot that he's had this season, that's definitely not making things any better. But even without the injuries, the limitations have remained the same.
I think he hurt his stuff more this year because of that.
No,
one could say that let's just say when he first tore his labrum, let's say he took some time off, right? It's safe to say that if he didn't play another snap, his stock would have been higher than what it is today.
I agree with that. Yep.
He's hurting himself and he's hurting the franchise from playing limited.
Every time he plays tough guy and goes in there and starts these games that he's not prepared to start with these injuries that he's got, he hurts his draft stock, or he hurts his stock even more with this team.
Who's his agent?
That's a great question. The other thing about Baker is one of the things you suggested, Jay, was that he could be a backup. Baker's never been a backup and been okay with that in his career. He went to Texas Tech. He was a backup, didn't like it. He transferred to Oklahoma. And I don't see him being the kind of guy that's going to be like, okay, yeah, if they give me a nice contract, I'll stick around and be a solid backup. I honestly don't see him being a backup anywhere. He strikes me as the kind of guy that like he's going to go anywhere that's going to give him a shot to start. And hopefully, we'll see how it goes. But at this point, I've lost all faith in him. And outside of some kind of miracle, us making the playoffs and him getting us to the AFC Championship game, I'm not interested in anything he has to do for the rest of the year.
You said something interesting, which is that your faith will be restored in him if the Browns get to the AFC Championship game. I want to address that part of it for a second, because after what we did last season, going 11-5, going into Pittsburgh and ending our 17-game losing streak by kicking the absolute snot out of the Steelers. I don't care what the score says. It was not that close. and then only pushing the Chiefs to their absolute limit by only losing 22-17. Granted, Patrick Mahomes was injured, and that played a huge factor in that game because I think the Chiefs would have blown us out by like 20 if Mahomes doesn't get injured, but we can save that discussion for a different day.
That's the better. Yeah,
we got people in the chat agreeing. Our guy KT over there at Sports Life Talk says he won't take a backup role.
Absolutely
so
not.
Yeah, he's on the same page as we.
But you know what, guys? It's okay. The way this is how the league operates, right? Okay, it's one thing for a person to have their self-belief in themselves. I can do this, and this is what I want. This is what I accept, right? But you either quit the league or the league quits you. And if he's not willing to take the backup role, he's going to probably be out of pro football before you know it. So I think he's going to have a serious conversation with his agent and really figure things out, or come back for his final season here as a backup, show that he's willing to carry a clipboard, do what's necessary. But he can't, he doesn't have any stock to demand, I'm going to start or trade me. You know, you're going to get like a 4th or 5th round for him.
The film's not there. Yeah, you're right, Jason. The film's not there for him to make those kind of arguments. Like,
yeah, you don't have that.
He's been in the league long enough. He's been in the league long enough. He's played with enough talented guys. There's no excuses for him anymore. He's been surrounded by talent. He's got, what was arguably the best offensive line in football at the start of the year. He's got arguably the best running back in all of football, who, even though he's missed 4 games, is still top 4 in rushing. Like, he has everything around him. He had OBJ and Jarvis healthy at times, and he couldn't connect with them this season or last season. And it's just
true.
Like, what's he got to show for it? And I think that's unfortunate too, because honestly, he'd be a really good backup. I mean, for real, like he could come in.
You won't lose a boot with him.
Yeah, he could come in and be a game manager. He threw a lot of interceptions recently, but I think that's because he's pressing. But with his build and the type of game that he has enough arm talent to be a good backup.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah, he got the strength. Absolutely. The coach are putting him in a bad position. They're making him throw. And thrown, we should be running the ball. So it's like a double-edged sword where it's like, okay, he's injured, he's pressing, he ain't himself this year, but you're still making this guy throw and putting him in a bad position, as well as jeopardizing your team's playoff hopes.
And I think part of the reason why overall, I think part of the reason he's pressing the way he is, because I agree with you about that, Jason, is because he knows that he has to earn his contract extension, because he hasn't played up to what a number 1 overall pick is supposed to play like.
True.
If you will. And on top of that, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, who were picked after him, obviously, because he was the number 1 overall pick, have completely outplayed him.
100%.
Lamar's gotten an MVP. Josh Allen and the Bills won their division last year. They're in position to win their division again this season. Although I would argue Buffalo is a little too reliant on Josh Allen. I think they need to develop their running game a little bit more. But my overall point is, because Baker knows he's been outplayed by Lamar and Josh Allen. So he's trying to be like, no, I'm the guy. Like, look at me. Stop looking at that.
It's pride.
Exactly.
It's one could say that because yes, Josh Allen and Lamar, they're steps ahead of him. They're way steps ahead. We all agree with that. I think John Dorsey's, and that was the GM for those that's not familiar. John Dorsey was the GM at the time that Baker Mayfield was drafted. A lot of people's jobs were on the line, and it was more of a win now We don't have time for the future. So they went with Baker because he, at the time, was the more ready quarterback, which is true, because Lamar was a project as well as Josh Allen was a project. But those projects have built and was worth the wait, So I think that was some of the decision making that went into leadership's mind, getting the kid. So it's a lot of pressure put on him. It's not his fault that he was the number one pick, but those are the expectations. If it's a holiday, it's an expectation that I have to get my girlfriend something for Valentine's Day, whether I want to or not. I have to get her something for Christmas. It is what it is. Expectations. So, that's his expectation. You're the number one. You got to play like the number one quarterback.
Hey, also, if it's Valentine's Day, you better take your girlfriend out for a nice trip.
I thought it was for the men and the children, though. the story changed. The behind-the-scenes story of Valentine's changed. I don't know if it's Dad's Sweetie's Day. I don't know.
Right.
Hey, yeah. I didn't even know until a couple of years ago. I didn't even know Sweetest Day was a thing.
Yeah, it's a Hallmark holiday. It's all made up.
It's a regional. It's a local holiday.
Yeah, that's like an Ohio thing. It's weird. But the other thing about Baker too, that our guy KT, he said he's not healthy either. If you have to wear a harness, then you should sit out. I 100% agree. When you're talking about a guy who's already physically limited in terms of his height and in terms of the injuries he's got, and then you put him in a harness, that limits his mobility even more. You see on a lot of those plays that like Baker usually runs nicely, those rollouts where he'll get a guy in space and lead them to the sideline, and he's throwing it behind receivers when he's rolling out to his left because he can't square around and lead the ball in front of, and we've seen a couple interceptions because of that. We've seen guys drop passes that were thrown behind them because of that. So it's real obvious that like that has also played a big factor in this too. And it's like, at what point do you just say, okay, like the experiment's over, like the Baker Mayfield project is over, So I think that we finished the year out. You finish with him, you let him start, see what he's got, Unfortunately, I think that we're not going to make the playoffs. I doubt that we win the next 2 games in a row or all of the dominoes fall, how that, we need them to even be in that position. So yeah, it looks like this is the end of the road for Baker, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. Before we move on from Browns talk, I have a question for you guys. So right now, this is my recording studio wall. And as you can see, it's all Cleveland Browns decked or whatever. I have a couple other things that you can't see that aren't Cleveland Browns related. But anyway, do you think I should keep it Browns related, Browns themed until the season is over? Or should I just say, nope, the Browns season is over and make it Cavaliers / NBA themed?
You could do both. It's always Browns time. Even when the season's over with, it's free agency time. So you have to keep that portion. Just throw some Cav stuff in it.
And I hate to say it, but even an 0-16 Browns team is going to get more attention than a number 4 or 5 seed in the East Cavaliers team is going to get.
It's Brownstown.
Sorry, it's just a Browns.
That's even when LeBron was here. Even when LeBron was here. Hugh Jackson was in the headlines more than him.
So with that being said, there's never a bad time to have the Brown stuff behind you when you're covering Cleveland sports. But no, I think that, there's definitely a lot to be excited about with the Cavs. So I hope you incorporate some of that in there.
Yeah, it's just frustrating being that we lost Ricky Rubio last night to an injury.
He's just playing out of his mind.
I hope he tore ACL.
Right, it looked awful. Darius Garland's in COVID protocols right now, and so who knows when he's going to be back.
Right.
I don't know who our point guard is going to be for the next 3 or 4 games against Washington, Atlanta, and Indiana. I don't know.
A lot of question marks. Yeah, this is when you have a young team that's having early success, this is the kind of stuff that you don't need to happen. You know what I mean? Like, Yeah, I hate to say it, but this almost feels like the makings of the start of a little bit of a slide here, maybe a little bit of a back to reality. It's just when you don't have a true point guard to lead this team, especially with how big they are, like you need to have a true point guard when you got 3 7-footers on the court, because those guys, they're not ball handlers. You know what I mean? So I hope that we get, Garland back soon. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting game against Washington if we don't have him.
What I will say is this also, Viv, kind of outside of basketball, but CDC has changed the rules again. So now, instead of it being a 10-day period for COVID isolation, now a lot of leagues are starting to adapt to the new CDC rule. So hopefully that impacts the NBA and we're able to get our point guard back sooner than later.
I will say overall, the NBA has taken a massive, I guess not just the NBA, but in general, the sports world has taken a massive hit because of this new Omicron variant and everything that comes with it, and health and safety protocols. But specifically talking about the NBA, like, I actually want to specifically talk about the Brooklyn Nets for just a minute.
Okay.
I think they are cowards. I think the Nets are
wow.
That's how you really feel about the Nets.
Straight down.
I think the Nets are total cowards.
Why do you say that? I think that if you're going to make a statement like that, you better back it up with something. So
I can back it up.
Okay, back it up then.
Two words. Two words. Ready? Kyrie Irving. Because before the season, after he went on his whole hoopla and all this and that, I'm not going to get into the full details because I don't want this to turn into like a political show. Like, oh, I support this, but I don't support that. No.
People don't want to hear us talk politics anyway. So
exactly. That's not what we're here to do. If you want to go listen to guys talking about politics, I'm sure there's other channels for that.
Yeah, go follow Clay Travis on Twitter or something.
Anyway, so what I'm getting at with Kyrie Irving is he said he's not going to get the vaccine and all of that. He's entitled to his opinion. Whatever. And so the Nets said, all right, you're not going to play.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
And all that.
I see where you're going with this now. They did.
They waffled.
Exactly. And now they're like, they see how good the rest. I don't know if it's because they see how good the rest of the Eastern Conference is.
You're right. You're right.
You're 100% correct. Yeah.
Or what it is.
Things changed. They thought that they were better than they were. They thought they could win without. They thought they didn't need Kyrie to win.
There you go.
And
they are cowards like this.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying, to cut a long story short, that's why I'm saying they're cowards, because they're saying, oh, we're not going to bring Kyrie back at all this season until he gets the vaccine, this and that. And now they're like, yeah, we'll bring him back for away games. You can't do that. Right. You can't.
Yeah, even if I disagree with somebody, if a man stands behind his convictions, and really believes in what he says and stuff, like, I can admire that, even if I think everything he believes is, ridiculous. But I can't admire when they say, oh, okay, you know what? We're shutting this guy down. He's not playing this year. And then when things aren't going their way and times get tough, then it's, oh, yeah, like, you know what? Actually, we're going to let them play in road games. Oh, yeah, what? We're actually going to let players come back in 5 days if they're asymptomatic. It's just like the goalposts keep getting moved time and time again because rich people want to win and make money. And that, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. And, it's a harsh reality, but that's it,
Right.
So, Josh,
they drew their line in the sand. They say, you know what? Okay, if you're not going to get vaccinated, stay home. We'll pay you. Stay away, right? But like you said, Josh, they taking a look at the landscape of the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference is starting to really pick up some steam, and they see that when Harden is a little flaky. Okay, Durant can only do but so much.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Let's kiss and make up with Kyrie, and yeah, man, you could just play practice. You could practice with us outside of the state of New
Yeah.
York. You
Right.
can
Don't
play
get me
games.
wrong. I
That's
want Kyrie
weird.
to play. You know what I mean?
It's
Don't get me
bizarre.
wrong. Yeah, I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm saying either. I want Kyrie Irving to play. I love Kyrie Irving. I think if he's on the court, it's good for basketball when Kyrie Irving is playing.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I agree with Josh. If you're gonna, if that's what you believe, then stand by it. And when it just is so weak and fake, and it's just like, it hurts the image of the franchise when you backtrack like that, and it's like there's already enough, like, when it comes to the like disparity between the owners and the players, like there's already such a disconnect there. And when you do things like this and make decisions like this, it just makes that disconnect even more apparent than ever. And it makes a guy like Kyrie Irving too be able to say, see, I told you so. I've told you these people don't care. They do not care about my health and safety. They care about making money and winning games.
They give him leverage.
They gave him leverage. They made him look like a genius in this situation, to be completely honest. And I'm here for it. So I'm glad that there's something, some disarray out there in Brooklyn, because they had one of the makings of a team that looked like, they might just walk their way through the East, and it's not happening. So I'm glad that. But another thing I want to bring up before we move on from the Cavs and talk a little bit about the college football playoff. This lineup, the landscape of the NBA is not what it was in the 90s or the 2000s. It's teams are going small. Teams are, they want to shoot a lot of threes. They want to play small ball. The Cavs organization made a decision this season that they were going to go in the face of all of that, and they were going to go big, real big. And teams are having a lot of trouble matching up with this Cavs team.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of coaches are kind of looking at this team now and going, okay, maybe they've figured out a blueprint for some success. So my question to you is, do you think that this Cavs team could actually change the face of the NBA a little bit? I think that they have a chance to be a really impactful team.
It depends. I think it depends on a couple things. One, can they actually make the playoffs, which I think they're going to, even with the injury to Rubio and not having Garland. I think they're still going to make the playoffs. Does that mean top 5? Not necessarily. I think being in the play-in tournament still qualifies as making the playoffs.
I would agree with that.
And when they make the playoffs, because I think as I just said, I think they're going to, can they make some noise? Does that necessarily mean making it all the way to the conference finals? No, of course not. I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy. But it could mean like maybe pushing a first round series to a game 7. Maybe pulling a rabbit out of a hat and somehow winning a first round series.
Like those We Believe Warriors. You remember that team, that early Warriors team that was an 8 seed, and they came out and shocked everybody. This team has the makings of a team that could do that.
Right.
Hey guys, understand this. Also understand this, guys. Well, first, to answer your question that you said earlier, BJ, yes, I think they found a solution to the high shooting of the other team. This is not your typical 7-foot centers back in the the 80s or the 90s, right? These are athletic. Wingspans is amazing. And a lot of teams are struggling. I even talked about this a couple of shows ago. Teams are struggling when they get within inside the perimeter. All the length is driving them crazy. So you see that, plus they can shoot on the other end, which you can't defend. So that's one thing. But let's say we do sneak into the playoffs as like a 7 or 8 seed. Okay, so we'll be playing the Bulls or we'll be playing the Heat. It's not far-fetched to think that these kids can't at least go to the second round. So I just wanted to
If I'm not mistaken, we've already beat the Bulls in the Heat this year.
Yeah.
So, we've shown we can play with them.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's early, and obviously these games aren't as important as games that, are going to be after the All-Star break. But still, we've gone out and we've been physical, and we've shown teams that, like, we could dominate the paint and win basketball games the old school way. But like you said, we've got these big guys that they can pop outside and hit a three. They can stretch the floor. And that changes the entire dynamic of the offense when you have guys that can stretch the floor like that. And it's causing teams fits right now.
So one quick thing, people are going to say, yeah, you beat the Chicago Bulls, but the Bulls didn't have DeRozan. They didn't have Kobe White. They didn't have a bunch of other guys. And people are going to say, okay, you beat the Milwaukee Bucks in your second game against them, but they didn't have Giannis. They didn't have Drew Holiday, yada, yada, yada. Guess what? Every team in the league is dealing with some sort of COVID health problem at the moment.
That's true.
It's the story of the league right now. Every team is dealing with some sort of injury problem or health and safety protocol issue, whatever you want to call it. So I don't want to hear that. I feel like that's just an excuse. The Bulls are one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference right now. In the East, I would say either them or the Cavaliers are the biggest surprise of the season right now. In the West, I would say hands down the biggest surprise is the Memphis Grizzlies. But overall, like, we beat the Bulls. We beat the Bucks. Yes, again, the Bucks were without all their guys, but still.
My rebuttal would be this. They were out with, it was, some call it a cheap victory. Okay. We're talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers too. So, and we were out without Sexton. So, it probably evens itself out, but the better teams won those games.
And also, it's like, I know reputation doesn't necessarily carry over from one season to a next, but here's the thing. Who won the NBA Finals last year? Let me think. Oh, that's right. That would be the Milwaukee Bucks. Who dropped 50 points in the Game 6 clinching victory? Let me think. Oh, yeah, that's right. Giannis. So Milwaukee still has that reputation of being that. Maybe reputation's the wrong word, but
I get what you're saying.
Stick.
I think my guy KT is right though. I think a 7-game series is a different story. I don't think that this Cavs team is built to win 7-game series as much as they are built to win in an upset victory in a one-night stand. We have matchup issues. Right. We have matchup issues that are causing teams trouble, but in a 7-game series, it comes down to talent and depth. And the Chicago Bulls have more talent and more depth at this point in the process. So yeah, I agree. I don't think that we can hang in a 7-game series at this point with the Bulls. But we're on our way. We're on our way to being one of those teams, though. And I do think that we could push it to maybe a 6-7 game series.
I disagree with you. I actually think we could hang with the Bulls in a 7-game series based on what I've seen.
Well, that's what I said. I said we could hang, but I think we'd lose in 6 or 7 games.
I do not.
Okay. All right. Well, we only have 14 minutes left in the show, though. We've got our Cavs opinions out there. We got to talk college football playoff. So let's start with the first game on New Year's Eve. Let's see who's playing first. I believe Alabama and Cincy are playing the early game. So let's start right there. Alabama and Cincinnati. Let's go ahead and make our quick picks. Let's see what the spread was 13.5 last time I checked. I don't know if it's still there.
Yeah, last I checked, it was still there. I'm going to pick Alabama, but I don't think it's going to be as big of a blowout as people think. I like Desmond Ridder, Cincinnati's quarterback. I think you saw a fraudulent Alabama in the SEC championship game because people are saying, oh, Alabama's back and all this. Get out of here with that. That's not the real Alabama. No. The real Alabama is the team you saw struggle against Florida, LSU, Arkansas, Texas A&M, and Auburn. That's
all elite programs that they ended up beating, though, with the exception of one.
well, right. They lost to Texas A&M. But
yeah. So you're saying Alabama wins, but it's close.
Correct.
Okay. So since he covers, Bama wins. Jason, what say you?
Alabama covers. I think it'll be a decisive victory. I could see Alabama easily winning probably by like 16-21. Cincinnati, it was a success for them this year. I'm proud of them. I'm proud of Fickle, his accomplishments and getting that team on the map, putting them on the map. But Alabama is the most talented team in football. Yes, I know they struggled with some teams in the past, but some could say that winning is boring. And when you are accustomed to winning and when you're in practice and you're going against other NFL prospects all the time, yeah, I could see someone probably losing focus in the game against Auburn or something of that measure. But I think they're going to turn it on.
Yeah, they're not going to lose focus in a playoff.
Absolutely not.
I agree. I'm with Jason on this one. I think Bama wins, and I think Bama wins big. I don't even think it's close. I don't think it's even for a moment close. I don't even think during the first quarter we think it's close. Unfortunately, I think Cincinnati had a great season. Coach Fickle's doing a really great job down there. He's recruiting at a very high level for a non-Power 5 team. It's big. What they accomplished this season is big. They penetrated the college football playoff for the first time as a non-Power 5 team. That was important. But at the end of the day, I do still think that Bama is the best team in the country. I do think that Georgia's defense is arguably one of the best defenses to ever play college football. So to say that that was a fraudulent victory in the SEC championship game, I disagree. I think the real Alabama shows up when it matters. And right now it matters more than ever. They've still got the best coach in the history of college football.
That I agree with you on.
They still have the, in terms of talent and depth, way deeper, way more talented than Cincinnati. They win big. They win easy. It's a statement game. I think Cincy will put up maybe 13, 14 points, but I expect Bama to pull probably 49 to 63 point range, to be completely honest.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I'm sorry, but this Cincinnati team has given up a lot of points to some offenses that were nowhere near as close as the firepower that Alabama has. So with that being said, I think that one's not a very competitive game, unfortunately, but I hope I'm wrong. I would gladly come on the show next week and say, guys, I was completely wrong. Luke Fickle's the man. Since he's got the real, they're the real deal. I will come on here and eat crow if they do. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I have a message for Alabama, though. You know what message I have? Go away, Alabama. Go away, Alabama. Go away, Alabama. Forget the Crimson Tide, because nobody likes you.
Wow.
All right. Well, thank you. Now that we know how you feel about Alabama, let's move on to – I can't with you, Josh. You're the man. Let's move on to the game I care about. My alma mater, the University of Michigan, Georgia Bulldogs, the spread on that game. Let's see.
It was at 6.5.
That's where it was last time I checked. I'm seeing if it's still there.
Georgia's favored -7.5.
So the line's moved a little bit in Georgia's favor. All right, so let's go in the same order. Josh, who wins, who covers? What do you think is going to happen in this game?
Hail to the victors, valiant, hail to the conquering heroes, hail, hail the Michigan, the leaders and best, let's go blue. Hail to the victors, valiant, hail to the conquering heroes, hail, hail the Michigan, the champions of the West, go blue. I'll give you a bonus pick. Not only does Michigan beat Georgia in the semifinals, but they will face Alabama in the national championship, and your national champion, hailing from Ann Arbor, Michigan, will be the Michigan Wolverines.
Let's go. I love it, Josh.
That was cute.
Love it. That is great. I'm very pleased with your pick. That was a beautiful rendition of Hail to the Victors, the only fight song that's in the College Football Hall of Fame, by the way, and I digress. But, Jason, I think you feel a little bit differently about this game. Tell us why.
Absolutely.
Tell us why.
I won't, out of respect for Ohio, I won't refer to the team by their name. But the school up north, they have a good defense. Their offense is okay, but Georgia has the number 1 ranked defense in football. That's going to be a problem on a neutral field. I know, they got the momentum riding and they feel good about themselves beating a freshman quarterback and my team, the Buckeyes, in inclement weather. And I know they feel good about themselves from pounding up on Iowa. Congratulations. But now you're about to see what it is to play real football against one of arguably the best defenses in recent memory. Also, not only will they lose to Georgia, they'll probably lose, but I'll say they'll probably cover the spread. It'll be a close one. I could see them probably losing by a field goal or so. But I see Alabama sweeping Georgia. So I got Alabama basically winning the championship after they meet Georgia, SEC Part 2. And I hate the SEC. Don't get it twisted. But real is real. And those are the 2 most dominant teams that's left, in my opinion.
I don't want, before you go, Bryan, I don't want to see Georgia and Alabama in the national championship again. We just saw it in the SEC championship. We saw it in the national championship a couple of years ago. They played each other a couple other times in the SEC championship. I'm tired of it. I want a new matchup. It's just like how I felt when the Cavs and Warriors played 4 consecutive times in the finals. Even when we got to year 3, and part of it was because, Kevin Durant had joined the Warriors, but even still, I'm like, really? We're getting Cavs Warriors for a 3rd time?
Yeah. Football purist. We love it.
I'm sorry. Here's the thing. I'm as big of a Michigan Wolverine fan as anybody. I do feel really good about our chances. Better than I expected going into a game against Georgia. I think that we are peaking at the right time. We're playing our best football right now when it matters the most. I think that Ohio State team was really good. I think that was a very big a statement win for this team. But I agree. I think that Georgia defense is as good a defense in college football that I've seen in my lifetime. They're good. They're real good. And I'm sorry to say it, but the Big Ten, it was a down year for the Big Ten. And I with the exception of Ohio State, I mean, even Iowa, they came out of the West as a very weak team with a lot of flaws. And they got exposed in the Big Ten championship game. At the end of the day, the SEC is the best conference in college football. Georgia has already beat who I believe to be the best team in college football, and Alabama. So, the analyst in me picks Georgia here. And I picked Georgia to win this game, but I do think Michigan's going to keep it close. But at the same time, I'm going to be rooting for Michigan. I think that this is a 50-50 type ball game. I think it's going to be a real low-scoring game. Both teams are going to try to pound the rock and dominate possession here. If Michigan can get their run game going and keep the ball out of Stetson Bennett and that Georgia offense's hands and just eat away at that clock and then let your guys Hutchinson and Ojabo make a play or two, then that's how you win this game. And then I think it's going to come down to something like a field goal. And here's why I like Michigan here is because we have the number 1 kicker in the country in Jake Moody. He just won the award, the Grozo Award for best kicker. So the special teams, I think, gives us an edge, and that's why I think we can win this game. But as an analyst, I'm picking Georgia here to win a close one, maybe 17-14.
I wouldn't say it was a down year for the Big Ten, because if you all remember let's say about a few weeks ago, Big Ten had 5 teams in the top 10 at one point, which was some rare territory.
How many finished there, though?
Yeah, that's a different story.
Iowa was the number 2 team in the country, and how they ever had that number 2 rank is puzzling to me. I think we thought this was going to be a great year for the Big Ten. We overrated a lot of teams early. The only team we underrated happens to be the team in the college football playoff, and that's what the great news is. Michigan's headed in the right direction. Harbaugh's got the guys playing their best football at the right time. We could definitely go in there and win this game. If we do win this game and squeeze past them, I still pick Alabama to be national champions at the end of the day. And I think they win that game against Georgia probably by 10 to 14 points.
Yeah, they're going to turn it up.
They're going to turn it up against them. I don't want to see it. Look, I'm with you, Josh. I don't want to see it. I'm tired of it. But at the end of the day, as a football purist, I want to see the 2 best teams in the country. And in my humble opinion, that's Bama and Georgia.
So here's my thing.
We got 2 minutes, so we got to wrap things up here. So
yeah, I know. I'm trying to be as analytical as I can. Don't get me wrong, but it's hard for me to not bring fandom into it. It's just part of my nature at this point. It's kind of how I operate. I can't even deny it. So I think that's part of the reason why I'm also picking Michigan, because, when they're not playing Penn State, I do root for Michigan because, I have connections to Michigan now. My sister went to the University of Michigan. I got you. I think I'm pointing at you. You become one of my best friends in this year. I'll give you that.
That's sweet.
Feeling is mutual. But I get your point. I went there. You care about me. You care about my happiness. You want to see me be happy too. And that's why I love you.
And also my sister went to Michigan.
Right.
Hey, no disrespect, Jason. I like you too.
It's all good.
Yep, but here's the irony. Here's the irony, boys. My favorite team, Michigan Wolverines. Here's why I'm not picking them to beat Georgia. And it's because we're limited at the quarterback position. Flat out. Cade McNamara is very limited as a quarterback. He's a great game manager.
Wasn't he a transfer?
Cade was not a transfer.
Okay.
Harbaugh recruited Cade.
Okay.
He was the Gatorade Player of the Year coming out of Nevada, but he's very limited. He doesn't, have the arm talent that a lot of guys have. And at the end of the day, if C.J. Stroud was our quarterback, I'd be picking us to beat Georgia. Flat out.
Probably what happened.
Honestly. Yeah. But yeah, that's all the time we got for today. It was a great show. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas.
Happy
Kwanzaa. I believe it's day 3 of Kwanzaa. To those of you that are celebrating, hope you guys have a great one. And yeah, everybody have a safe and happy new year. And we will see you guys in 2022. Kind of crazy to say that, but the Sports Generals will be back strong in 2022. Thank you all for tuning in. Thanks to our guys over at Sports Life Talk for jumping in on the chat. Those guys are awesome. Make sure you go over to their YouTube page, Sports Life Talk. Follow, subscribe, turn your notifications on. Make sure you get everything that those guys do because they are awesome. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. Come join us on So What's the Catch on the So What's the Catch YouTube channel at 2:00. I will see you guys over there.
Yep.
All right, y'all. Peace.
All right. Good show, boys. Have a good one.